Yep.
We need people, and just like your coworker, we need people to be who they are. We need people to be loud. Like I hate when people try to silence them. It's like, oh, you're just doing this for attention. It's like, no.
Some of them maybe, but no. In the grand scheme of things, no.
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? It's the What It Is podcast. I'm Strolly. He's Marley. And this is a podcast where we talk about things that probably not a lot of people want to talk about, but we're going to talk about them and get through them. Right?
Hopefully.
What's today's topic, Marley?
Today's topic is transgenderism.
Okay.
And I guess just the conversation around being transgender and transgender people.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
How a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions of what being transgender is, you know, and we're just gonna run with it from there, man.
Okay, I'm with it. You want to start?
Fuck. Not it.
Nose goes.
Nose goes. Well, I mean, it's like I feel like a lot of people have misconceptions on what being transgender is.
Mm-hmm.
That they believe like. A lot of people get confused on what gender even is in the first place.
Yeah, I guess let's start with talking about that, right?
The difference between gender and sex.
What's the difference?
Sex is biological. Gender is a social construct.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's kind of by definition.
Yeah.
And even then, the definition of sex more or less boils down to simply reproductive organs.
Yeah.
How do animals reproduce? You define it by that. So, like a lot of people that have the argument against being transgender, anybody who is transgender, like scientifically trying to disprove that is like, it's like a moot point, dude.
Yeah.
You can't scientifically disprove being transgender because transgender is a social construct.
Yeah,
There's
you
no
can't
science behind.
You can't take math and science and put it towards something that's a social idea.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you feel about that, man?
Yeah. Kind of have the same idea where what people perceive it as, and it's just a misconception, really.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of it boils down to people just not wanting to adhere, I guess, to something that they don't understand. Like as humans, we have we don't want to, if we don't understand it, we're not going to accept it, right? So I think that's where a lot of the frustration and a lot of the misunderstanding and the mean stuff basically comes from.
Ignorance and hate.
Yeah. Comes from just not understanding it and not wanting to believe it. Right. Not wanting to just be like, okay, fine, so be it.
A lot of the time is like, even if you explain it in a way that somebody can understand, just like what I said, the difference between sex and gender.
Right.
They'll hear that and still be like, nope.
Well, yeah.
It's like, that's
just people being too proud and not wanting to come off their moral high ground that they think that they have. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. It's not fair.
Yeah.
In my opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not fair that we all get to have our own hobbies, our own likes, our own dislikes, but when somebody feels like that they're different and wants to show that in the way that is socially acceptable, they get chastised for that. It's like, well, if they were the gender before they transitioned, right, and acted like how they act after they transitioned, you would still give them shit. So you just want to give people shit for being different. Right. No.
Yeah.
We need to stop.
God forbid somebody wants to exist out of a fucking made up binary.
Yeah, right.
Like gender is a fucking spectrum. There's not just man and woman.
Yeah. Like, can you imagine if like we actually hated people and and I mean we kind of do, but that's a different story. Like if like I like spring water and I like what's the other kind? Sparkling water, for the lack of a better example, right? Can you imagine like actually judging people and telling them that like, oh no, you're not allowed to like sparkling water because you were born with spring water, so you have to like spring. Like it's such a bizarre concept to be like, to show hate and bigotry towards.
It's like you're born and the doctor's like, oh, that's what you got going on. All right, you're this, and now you have to be this for the rest of your life, and you have to exist within the social definitions of what this is.
Yeah, and most people are okay with that. Right?
Yeah, most people are perfectly fucking fine with that.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
right. I'm totally fine with being a dude with a penis.
Yeah, exactly.
But I can understand if somebody didn't want that, right? If they felt different, then they need to be. Then let them be different. Like it really just boils down to just being civil humans, right? And
just allowing people to live and be who they are.
Yeah, having some compassion and having some respect for the other person next door. Like, just what hurts you so hard for them to be the way that they want to be? Like, because you don't understand it, because it's different. You wanna chastise them for it and stuff.
And literally make laws against them. Yeah. It's like, that's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's just like the way that we define gender as a whole. It's bullshit. Just not even like necessarily to being transgender, but just like gender roles. Like what men do and what women do have to be two totally separate things.
Yep.
Like you see a woman that's got armpit hair and you're like, oh, she's mannish. You know, like it's fucking hair, dog. We all grow hair. Like that's it's just a body.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You see a man wearing a dress, and you're like, oh, what the fuck?
And they're not from Scotland.
Exactly. There's a difference.
Touche.
You know, like somebody's going to get fucking side looks and like sneering at them and probably get insults thrown at them walking down the street, you know?
Yeah.
You see a man wearing makeup. It's like, well, what? Fucking let them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
What's the big
and even
deal?
my perception of them as a man, it doesn't matter what my perception is. It matters who they believe themselves to be.
I mean, it definitely takes a strong-minded person to look past that and understand that, because biologically we're meant to see something different and treat it as hostile, right? Like if you go deep down to the roots of our primal instincts, if you will, right? How the brain works. I can understand it being off-putting or somebody not being okay with it at first, but it's okay to be there. Just work on trying to understand, right?
It's because it's jarring, honestly. Like it can be jarring when not that these things are new, but like experiencing them and how it's more openly accepted nowadays.
Yeah,
it's a learning process, and it honestly is, like, to the point that using preferred pronouns is still something that's a little tough for me, just because it's harder for me to grasp. Like I try to, if somebody has a pronoun that they choose to use, I try to use that for them. But even like that's funny, like the argument that like, oh, you can't call people they them, it's not grammatically correct, even though referring to a single person as they them is perfectly grammatically correct given the circumstance.
Yeah.
Like if you say like, oh, my friend lost their phone, their phone, you'd be like, oh, they did. That's a singular person. You're using they and them and a singular like in a singular substance. Like the whatever little issues that people can pick out for it to not be okay, they try to do that.
Well, yeah, exactly, because everybody wants to stand on their moral high ground and act like that what they believe in is fact and true.
Right.
And it's more detrimental than it is anything else.
Yeah.
Right? Like if we could just sit there and just be like, all right, look, I don't know anything about it. Explain it to me.
Right.
Help me understand. Right.
Which is fair. Like if more people were just kind of like, look, I'm gonna be honest, this is new to me. Maybe they came from a community where that wasn't there, Yeah. Probably for reasons.
Yeah.
But maybe they just came from a small town. This is the concept of gender non-binary is completely new to them. If those people would just take the open-minded, like, you know what, I'm sorry, this is new. This is a little jarring. Just explain it to me. Like, give me a chance. But it's typically not like that. Yeah. A lot of at least the louder people. I'm sure most people don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people are cool with it. Most people probably don't understand it, and maybe don't want to understand it, but will be respectful, right? But
because it's hard to grasp, if you we're men,
Yeah.
What's it? Cisgender, I believe that's the term.
Yeah. Well, cis means you are the gender that your gender and your sex align.
Okay.
So we are cis males.
Okay. So then this is shit that I still need to learn. I don't really have a full grasp on it,
Yeah. And I'm no professional by any stretch of the imagination. No. When I let me go into the story real quick. When I worked at Swiss, right? I worked with a trans male, right? Or trans guy. I forget how that works. Sorry. So I worked with him, and the one day we were working it, and when we work there, it's on the night shift. There's only 2 people there, and most of the times you just end up bullshitting because it gets slow, and then you just bullshit. And I remember I being like, so like, can you explain this all to me? Because I don't understand anything. Like, is that okay? And he was like, no, that's perfectly fine. He was like, I would love to explain why I am the way that I am to you, as long as you're not a dick. And I was like, oh yeah, no, I mean, I genuinely just, I don't get it from my perspective, but I want to try and understand. So help me understand it. And we sat and we were standing, but we talked for like, half hour, 45 minutes on, why he decided to be, why he wanted to transition into a male. What like growing up, what it was like for him, those kind of things. And it was like, it was really eye opening to be like, so it's just a feel like it's so, all they want is
to be who they are,
to be accepted.
Yeah,
that's it. Like, all they want to be accepted. And I think if we could, as society, just shut up and just try and understand them, or just let them be, everything would be fine.
Like, a lot of my confusion comes from trying to define people's gender, like trying to understand like, what are you, and like, what do you exist as. That the concept of that alone is like, it shouldn't exist. Like, I shouldn't try to define you. I shouldn't try to put you in a box for my own understanding. I should just be able to let you live.
Yeah.
However you choose to display yourself, however you choose to be.
Yep.
Like, that should just be okay. I shouldn't have to understand and put you in a box.
Yeah.
Make it easier for myself. No, over time, like, I think that the concept of gender, how gender exists in society today, just needs to be thrown the fuck out.
Yeah. For sure. Yep.
We need people, and just like your coworker, we need people to be who they are. We need people to be loud. Like, I hate when people try to silence them. It's like, oh, you're just doing this for attention. It's like, no.
Some of them maybe, but no. In the grand scheme of things, no.
Yeah. Like, we need people to be loud. We need people to be who they are, because then that inspires conversations from others who don't understand. If the people never see it, they'd never look at a person and be like, I want to know about that.
Yeah.
Because that's new to me. I've never seen somebody display themselves in that manner.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Without people that are living their life proudly and happily, these conversations don't happen. They don't. There's no opportunity to learn and grow past that binary, and maybe even learn something about yourself.
Exactly.
You're put in a box. You're told that you have to be a certain way. Maybe you don't want to be that way. Maybe it's never been right for you, but you're just doing it because that's what you've been told your whole life.
Yeah. Like, as a cis male, like, maybe I just like to clean more than I like to, fix the gutters. You know what I mean? Like, there shouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Right. Why do we have to associate gender with those kind of things?
Exactly.
I like to fucking take care of myself, dude.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just because I wash my ass, I'm a little bit more feminine.
Yeah.
Those are actual arguments that people have. It's like, oh, wait, you scrub your ass? Like, yes.
Yeah.
I do. It's gross. Clean your ass.
Right?
Just fucking, how does hygiene get gendered?
Yeah.
Like that. You just take care of yourself. Like people that honestly truly believe that it's a woman's role to cook and clean and take care of the house, and a man's role to be dirty and loud and proud, and that's all societal. Like, that's all society. Fuck that shit.
It's what we made it to be.
Yeah.
Yep. Because it all stems back to when, before suffrage, when women didn't have rights, right? Or
before that.
Well, I mean, like that type of, like, how society is now is directly related to that, right? And of course, before that, but I mean, like, once when, women started getting voting rights and all this other stuff, and it was becoming more socially accepted for women to be more alone, right? Do their own thing, essentially. Gender roles are starting to depreciate, right? There's no longer as a male you have to do this, as a female you have to do this. In general, in my perspective, in general social circles, right? We're kind of under, like, our generation and the generation after us, we're kind of starting to understand, like, okay, it's really not that big of a deal that, like, I don't have to be the breadwinner as a male. Like, my wife could make millions of dollars more than me, and I can accept that as a humble person, right?
Gender is a concept. It doesn't have to be the way that you live.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't have to define you as one side of the binary.
Yep. It's just how you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's a shame that there's not more people that can sit and have those mature conversations like I did at work with him. You know, it was like, if I could have, if everyone could be that open-minded and that understanding and try a little bit, I think it wouldn't be as detrimental.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, even the understanding part, it's kind of like, I may not be able to grasp it because it's not the way that I live my life. You know, I can't imagine having this body and being told that because I have this body, I have to act and dress and look a certain way.
Yep.
But the whole time knowing that that's not right, knowing that this isn't me, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, no, for sure not.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's scary. You know,
and that's why there's a lot of depression and mental health issues when it comes to transgendered people, and non-binary gendered people, I guess, because they don't feel like they have a place in society, and that's not fair. Yeah, there's no reason why they can't. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just the people who don't want to see change, and the people who want to be like, well, this is how it is and this is how it should be, so that's how it's gonna be.
Right.
Like,
and the people that don't even ask why it is that
right,
way.
Exactly.
Like,
just
looking at the roots of why we have those binaries, why we had gender roles, like the fucking makeup of society in general. Like that, it goes along to like the ignorance of trying to look at the history of things and acknowledging what the history is, and instead just saying, well, that's how we are today, so this is the way it needs to be.
That needs to go away.
Yeah.
And I think that would help a lot of people transitioning, or people who may not feel like it may help their mental health. You know, if we could be more accepting as society, I feel like the number of diagnosed or depression diagnoses that occur with that community would go down, because if they feel like they have a home in society, they're going to be happy and they're going to be healthy, and there shouldn't be any issues that come along with that.
Exactly.
And it's our responsibility,
as
right?
a society, as
you and me only. No, just you and me.
Oh, just us. Okay,
yeah, just
cool.
us.
All right. Well,
no,
according to us, you guys have a home. So we're all
you
good.
do, definitely.
We're all good.
No, as society, we need to grow and be better. Honestly.
And it's gross, unfortunately, a lot of the times, you know, because we have Gay Pride Month, we have Gay Pride parades all over the U.S., and then you have like the fucking straight pride parades that pop up in protest.
Yeah, well, it's just because everybody wants to be involved in something. The majority doesn't necessarily get their own things because there's nothing to necessarily celebrate, right? Like, you shouldn't have to celebrate being straight. It's just normal. Celebrate
it's not
the interesting things.
Well, that's actually... So one of the issues is that people view being transgender and view being non-binary as abnormal.
Yeah, okay.
So that kind of language, that's a learning process. That kind of language using the term, even just the term normal.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's so natural, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly, yeah.
Like, it's not, you don't mean anything by it, but it's that kind of ingrained education that, like, oh, well, being straight is normal.
Yeah.
You know?
It almost
immediately makes somebody who's not straight abnormal and makes them stand out in that respect.
Yeah.
When existing
I
on that
what
spectrum.
the right language would be for that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that shit we have to correct.
Yeah.
And it's so ingrained in society. Like there's so many points that have to be addressed.
Yeah.
It's gonna take forever. It's gonna take a long time. But down to even just the terminology and the way that we describe those things needs to be corrected. Because subconsciously you hear being straight as being normal. Yeah. Somebody who's not straight is thinking, oh, so I'm not
someone
normal?
who's cisgender to be normal.
Something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's fucked up.
Common. Even, I guess that would probably be a better word for than normal.
I feel like common doesn't make it sound as negative.
Yeah.
Because uncommon is just kind of like, oh well, it's not like 1 out of 10. You know,
Yeah.
you could probably do a study like that. But
it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Yeah,
'Cause,
it's
like,
tough. It's tough to understand and grasp because of, like, you know, like you said, of all the
So
stuff that's been
ingrained.
ingrained. Yeah. You know, it's hard to kind of get out of that mentality and think about what you say, right?
But
think about the implications.
Even having that pointed out, now you're thinking like, oh, you know what, that's right.
Yeah. Now I'm like, shit.
Now I don't want to make
what's a
people
better way to
Yeah,
I need to figure this out.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to make somebody subconsciously feel like something's wrong with them.
Yeah.
I don't believe anything's wrong with you for wanting to exist as you should. As
For
you
sure.
are.
Yeah. No.
But just using those terms and the way that we're told to describe things is kind of like that's
not fair.
Yeah, you know, it's attacking. Unfortunately, not on purpose, but it's those little ways that society is built up to make these people feel like they're not people.
For sure. Yeah.
Like they're less than.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Yeah. Language is tough.
Yeah.
And it's really hard because you can say something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like normal, abnormal, right? You can say those two words, and in a whole different context, it's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But in another context, it's not.
Right.
It's
because the implications of what you're saying.
right, exactly. Yeah.
You may not have that intention, but it still implies that there's normal and abnormal. If something is normal, something must be abnormal.
Yeah.
So describing being straight, being cisgender, whatever, as normal immediately puts that group of people in an abnormal category.
Well, what if the straight people are abnormal? We'd be cool with that, right?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Straight people can be weird.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, actually.
Can confirm.
Straight people are the worst.
Just imagine
God.
Last night. Yeah. It's truly a shame how we can't just let it be and just try and look out for your neighbor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't look out for, you know, the person down the street who's struggling or anything like that. Like it's frowned upon anymore. Right. You know what I mean? And that as the society, you know, we all need to work on and try and be a little bit more understanding and a little bit more there for others. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because you never know what somebody's going through.
Exactly.
You know?
It should just be.
And at the end of the day, it really doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, dude, it doesn't
like, it really
matter.
doesn't fucking matter if Billy Joe down the street decided that, you know, he wants to be a female now and now goes by, you know, Christina or something. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, whatever.
Sup, Christina? How you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it shouldn't be like, oh no, that's so not right. Like,
right. As
let 'em be.
As long as we have such rigid definitions of gender as a society, it's always going to be an issue. It's always going to be a big thing. It's going to be like, oh, you're transitioning. You know, gender is constructed in a way to make that a thing.
Yeah.
You know,
to make it fantastic.
Yeah.
For
like, nah, they're just trying to live. They just want to
trying to be them.
Just trying to be them, dude. Like, I can't imagine.
It's not this great, you know, fantastic thing that's going on. It's just who they are.
Yeah, I don't feel anything but normal in all things that I do. Why do people want to make other people feel like that's not the case for them? Yeah.
Because it's different than what they're used to seeing in their life. They're not open-minded enough to sit there and try and rationally understand what the hell's going on, you know.
And I feel like like you said, as a whole, with the newer generations, with our generation and generations after us, we're growing towards that. Yeah. You know,
we're starting to be more understanding.
Unfortunately, you see, like, especially excuse me.
You're excused.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You see a lot of, like, detrimental things happening, like a lot of the legislation that's basically put against people that are transgender, people that are non-binary. You know, they're literally trying to control who these people are. Yep. Just because they don't believe it's right. For one, religious reasons, you know, fucking moral reasons.
Yeah.
You know, these politicians, they don't have morals.
No, they do not.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's sucks. Like, how do you fucking legislate against that. Like
Ignorance.
it's hard to grasp for me
Yeah.
sometimes, because like I like to think that society has moved to a point where these things are no longer hard to understand.
Yeah.
These
So
damn old white men.
yeah, I mean, really, it's really just the old people, really, in all realms of this, in the whole world. It's the old people that aren't understanding, and they're so hard-headed because they've been through shit and back, you
They
know
live
what I
their
mean?
whole lives
Yeah.
being told this
Like, can you
one
imagine
thing.
like going through like the Cold War, like growing up in the Cold War? Like, that cannot be fun mentally, right? The amount of trauma that you go through, and always wondering if you're going to be attacked by nuclear weapons throughout the whole world, essentially, right? So they're so hard-headed, and they don't want to be any different because they just want to live out the rest of their lives, which I can kind of understand in that. But it's like, for fuck's sakes, just be nice.
The rest of your life is like 20 years. You're setting up legislation that sets us back decades. Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
Fuck your life.
Yep.
Honestly, fuck your life. I don't care what your last 10, 15 years on this earth are. How are you going to fuck it up for generations after you? You're not going to be alive to see the repercussions of your actions.
Yep.
You're not going to be alive to see how you hurt people and how, like, what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
All you're going to do is do it and continue living in your little fucking bubble and not be affected by the things that you do. Like, it hurts. Like, it's
toxic.
It makes me so mad.
Yep. It's toxic.
Yeah. This fucking, like, this 85-year-old politician that could keel over from a heart attack at any moment is setting up legislation that fucks generations after him.
Yep. Just because of what he believes.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah.
What he believes is right.
Mhm.
It fucking sucks.
No. Yeah.
Not a fan of it.
No, I agree. I agree. It's really it's tough. And it's tough. It's tough. I think it's tough for our generation, especially because I think we come from a time frame where, or a time frame, whatever you want to call it, of understanding that some of this stuff isn't that big of a deal. But then we're also in a time frame where we're like, no, this shit is a big deal.
Right.
It definitely needs, like, yeah, we were okay with it before because we didn't really understand.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to understand why it's not okay to, you know, like Eminem, right? Like when his music first started coming out, everybody loved it. Nobody cared about what he was saying. Now it's like, all right, yeah, that was all right, Shady. That was
that's a little fucked up,
that was
man.
a little far, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's like
decade to fucking decade. Like,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
You can.
We've
We've been alive for 25. At least I've been alive for 25. You're fucking like
27.
30.
Shut up. Not yet, at least.
Exactly. Just looking back through our lives alone, we haven't been on this earth for a very long time.
But
You
we've
know?
gone through so much.
Yeah, there's
like so much change.
Yeah.
Right. There's been
so much change that you don't even often think about unless you like purposely try to think about
Yeah.
it. You know.
exactly, and it's and I think that's why you know, it's hard for us to understand the old heads,
Mhm.
and then even then, like, kind of not understand the kids in the same respect, because
Mhm.
it's like, bro, like, we grew up with like rotary phones,
Mhm.
right? And we didn't know what the internet was. Now
Right.
you have it in your pocket.
Exactly.
You know, for most of our lives, we didn't have internet anywhere we went. Like,
Mhm.
it was a specific thing. So it's like, I can understand how it's so, we're in such a weird
Yeah.
middle ground of not enough tech and too much tech and not enough understanding and too much understanding and
A bit-
too little PC
definitely-
and too much PC. It's insane.
Definitely a big part of it has to do with our generation's access to information.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
We don't live in. Well, we can live in a community that's smaller, that's a pocket, but we have access to worlds of knowledge and worlds of experience outside of what we have physically. You know.
Yeah.
So like the person in the fucking 60s that grew up in a fucking 100-person town,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they didn't have the opportunity to experience shit if they never left that fucking town.
Exactly. They didn't know what a northern accent was or a
Right.
southern accent, whatever.
All they had
Yeah.
was that, and all they
Yep.
had were the rules set upon them
Mhm.
through that small fucking pocket of existence.
And that's how they grew up, and that's how they stayed, and that's
Yeah.
where that's
That's
why
how they legislate.
full circle.
Yeah, exactly. Which
Um,
even then you could look. Yeah, that's how they were raised. That's how they grew up. You know, for most of their lives. But they have the access now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what you had growing up the first 30, 40 years of your fucking life.
Exactly.
it exists now.
Yeah. You can change now.
Right. And they see
Do it.
Yeah, do it. And they see
Nike.
it and they're like, no, it's not how I was raised. It's not how things should be.
Yeah.
I say how things should be. They should be like this. You're wrong.
Yep.
Your existence is wrong.
Yep. It's terrible, man.
Fucking sucks, man.
Absolutely terrible.
I hate old politicians.
Yeah. I hate
Old white men.
same. Except for the cool ones.
Yeah. Some of y'all are neat.
All right. What do you think? I think that's a good place to stop. But I want to keep this going. I think there's more to talk about.
There's definitely more to talk about, especially when it comes to legislation and the actual, not just when it comes to perception like you and me, but how the people in power actually treat
Right.
people non-binary.
Yeah. So maybe we'll talk about that next.
Yeah, possibly.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Marley?
You don't accept transgender people, or you think people that are non-binary are wrong, fuck you.
Fair enough.
Learn about them and accept them. Well, you don't have to accept them; they exist regardless.
Yeah, that's fair. But try and accept them. I mean,
Would
be
be super cool if you did.
At least give us at least give them the common courtesy, right?
Whether you do or not.
Yeah.
People will people.
Just let them be.
Yeah.
Let it be. Let it be. Anyway.
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Dear God.
Like your content strike.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening.
Appreciate
we love you.
Guys.
Bye.